Pop, 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 pass the popcorn. 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 Pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarosinski, and this is Pass the Popcorn, where we are joined by the coolest people we know to talk about movies, either so good or so bad that we can't wait to talk about them with you. On our last episode, I called him a friend. Today, it's possibly up for debate. I'm joined by our critical in residence, Tim Brayton.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said we are joined by cool people, but it's just us.
It's just us.
It's just the two of us, and neither one of us is cool.
That is actually really, really fair. That is really fair.
Although I will say, and I don't want to make you jealous, I bought a new pair of cargo shorts yesterday.
Ooh, from where?
From JCPenney's.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Costco. So JCPenney's is a little cooler, I think.
I don't get to Costco. I don't have a Costco membership, sadly.
Oh, so I've been getting advertised these new shorts that sort of really suck it in on your legs. And I think it's because Rob must be searching them, because my whole news feed is whatever he's been shopping for. Are they fitted or are they looser?
So that's what's confusing to me. You say they suck into your legs. Like are they like legging shorts, or are they like short? Mm-hmm. Are they thigh corsets? What is the thing here? I
think the material is meant to hug. So while I would never do that, I would like it to not hug my leg. Rob has very, very, I guess you'd call him stick-like. He has very stick-like legs. So he wants something that's going to cling a little bit.
Yeah, no, I literally, sincerely cannot think of a part of my body I less want clothing to stick tightly to than the area between my knees and my waist.
Okay. It's interesting you say that.
All of my worst features are jumbled up in there.
See, and this is the problem. This is called negative self-perception. I would actually say that is one of your best assets. 100%. You have very nice legs.
You had such fine feelings about my assets.
See, again, I go back to Rob's got these little stick legs. I feel like you have very muscular. What's between the knee and the hip? What is that?
The thigh.
Your thigh. I feel like you have very muscular thighs. Would you agree?
I feel like you overlooked that I was trying to make a pun on the word assets, and now I feel like it's just hanging out.
Oh, and it's gone. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
But thank you. I appreciate that. I find that I have chunky thighs, but I appreciate your vote of confidence.
I think they show up very, very nicely. And we're starting on a much more positive note than I expected, because we need to front load it, don't we? We do, because it's all downhill from here. So many things to catch up on since we last chatted. Primarily probably addressing the trauma that I've experienced over the last few weeks, sharing the Indiana Jones series with my children.
I was going to say, based on Letterboxd, I assume you are currently podcasting from prison, because I assume you murdered your family.
I haven't yet, because I'll tell you why. We, at the beginning of the pandemic, I think I told you, we bought that large freezer. Yes.
Oh, so you haven't been found out yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're just waiting there, just sort of in a cold purgatory.
Have you been eating a bunch of meat pies?
Oh,
if you take my meaning.
I haven't. I'm vegetarian, but if push comes to shove, whatever happens.
Just in the interest of getting rid of evidence. Obviously, I know it's not your first choice.
Yes. With anything with barbecue is actually fine for me,
yeah.
But. Other than that, other things have happened. I had some cosmetic surgery. I also ran a 9.5-minute mile. I don't want to brag, but again, I tried to think of what is the thing that's most important to talk about. And I think that's emotional trauma.
I'm asking sincerely because I don't know.
Yes.
Is a 9.5-minute mile good?
For me,
I was going to say, you can absolutely make me think it is a feat that you've achieved that. I would not have counter evidence.
I will say at the end of it, I felt as though I was going to vomit because I was running so quickly for myself. I would say for the average 10-year-old to 14-year-old, it's average, I would say.
The last time I ran, which was probably... I was still living in Chicago, so it was probably 2009 or 2010. Mm-hmm. I ran for 1/4 of a block, and that was enough to make me think that I was going to vomit.
I was going to die.
So anything you've
Anything.
achieved here,
Yeah.
I am impressed by.
I
To
know.
be clear.
I'm just celebrating small wins. So small wins here as well. And you haven't noticed my cosmetic surgery yet. We've been talking now for 30 minutes before this episode started, and you still haven't noticed.
Your forehead seemed awfully shiny to me.
It's not my forehead.
I wasn't going to say anything because I thought it might just be that you're sweaty. But
Well, I do have this.
Did you get a forehead sanding?
I did. Can you do that?
I haven't. It sounds awful and painful. I doubt very much that you would want to.
It's so funny you mentioned that because I was recently going to Google, can I get my forehead sanded? And it's only because after that ping pong incident where I rammed my head into a table a couple years ago, I've got a dent. And the dent is really, I was hoping it would sort of like self-correct. It is not. And now it's getting more and more prominent. But I haven't looked into it yet. So I'm going to, after this is my second cosmetic surgery. I had something done to my tooth.
Okay.
You know, my rogue tooth that you always make fun of on the air. I went in and I was like, I don't know if I should do anything with this tooth. And the lady was like, you know what? I can just make that whiter. I'll just put like a little, because it's yellow. I like traumatized it when I fell on the ice when I was like in 4th grade. So she went in, she's like, I'll just like recolor it. Well, the problem is you probably can't tell because now I have a glaringly white tooth.
Honestly, I feel like the resolution of Zoom is not sufficient.
Oh, good. I'm going to smile. And can you see? Can you see? Can you see it like blinging
I can
off?
sort of see now
Sort
that
of
you're
see.
calling my attention to it. That one is ever so slightly whiter than the rest.
Oh my gosh. It's just staring me in the face. So now every time I look at it, I'm like, well, I was used to the other one. Now every time I see it, I'm like frantically trying to whiten the other teeth because I'm like, hopefully I can equalize it because now I just have like a blazing white tooth.
And just like the putting like the tray of whatever it is, peroxide solution.
I just started that yesterday. So
Okay.
hopefully by the time you see me in person, it's going to all be evened out and you'll never know.
I hope by the time I see you in person, you've somehow managed to like burn all of your teeth out of your mouth with bleach.
Yes, that's the ultimate goal, that I've inflamed my gums before our next meeting. So, but beyond that, again, none of those things were as traumatizing as, again, just sharing my favorite movies with my family.
Right, because let us just get it right into the record right now. Your all-time favorite movie series is the Indiana Jones series, correct?
Yeah, it always has been. It has been since I was 8, probably 8 till current. It's always been my favorite. And I decided, okay, so let me give a little bit of a backstory. We were in a pinch maybe a year ago. I don't even know the timing anymore. But for some reason, Rob gave me an ultimatum and he's like, we're either watching Temple of Doom and it was like, it was Titanic. I think it was Titanic. He's like, we're watching Temple of Doom.
What a random ass pair of movies. It's like, would you like to watch this normal adventure movie or a film where we will have to plan our day around it?
I know. I remember being put on the spot and I was like, everyone was closing in around me. The kids were just like, make a decision.
When will you ever choose Titanic in that scenario?
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't, it was like 2 different spectrums of emotional trauma that I was facing. Like it was really hard. It was like Sophie's Choice, which I haven't seen because I've also heard that's sad. Right. But I was like, how do I decide? So in a pinch, I was like, you know what? At least it's only Temple of Doom. That's like how I rationalized it. Like this isn't going to be the scariest of the 3 to watch with them. So Anyway, I mean, again, I had dreamt of this for years, but I was so worried that it wouldn't go well. So like, I tried to imagine positivity. I imagined that they would react with jubilation and that then they would like maybe embrace me in some way. And then
because I know we've had this conversation because I feel like I have somewhat called into question yours and Rob's parenting skills in the past, just based on how long I've loved the Indiana Jones films and how it felt offensive to me that you hadn't shown your children. Because I think I started watching them when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And around the time your kids were like, 9 and 10, I was like, you guys you're really behind the 8 ball here. Like you guys really need to get on this. And so you did that finally.
I did. Well, and that's the thing. I think it was a combination of like, these things there's so much gore and these things have so many scary parts. Like what is old enough? They're not super resilient.
6, I just said.
6. And you've ended up Well adjusted. So I should
Great
have gone
shape.
with 6.
No one
Yeah.
could conceivably look at me and say that I have an unhealthy relationship to cinema.
Exactly. And then the flip side was like, what if they don't like it? And that was the ultimate fear, which was so much worse.
And I feel like my response to you saying that when we discussed this some while ago, and I'm about to put my ass on the line. Well, that's just not possible because nobody dislikes these movies.
Yes, you did. You did say that. And I will lead in with, they didn't hate these movies. I'll lead it out there. It's taken me a couple weeks actually to process. That's actually one of the reasons we didn't record this last week, was I hadn't fully processed the situation.
Hadn't dealt with the emotional fallout
I really
of your
had
children not thinking these were the best movies ever made.
I know that sounds so weird, but I just can't talk about it. And I don't know. I think I built it up too much. I thought they were going to look and be like, we were going to like make eye contact after it was over. So we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'll go into that a bit. We watched the last one, which was Last Crusade. We watched that. We skipped 4 just for obvious reasons, but we watched this all leading up to the new Dial of Destiny. And after, the one I was worried about was Last Crusade. I was most worried about that.
Because that is your literal favorite
favorite one. That's the one that I just was hoping that they would look at me and afterwards, like our eyes would connect and they would just be like, Mom, I understand. And then they'd say, like, let's watch it again. And I'd say a million times, yes, like, let's just watch it again. And they'd be like, gosh, Mom, you're so cool. And that was like how I played it out in my mind. And then none of those things happened.
I mean, that seems like a specifically optimistic scenario,
Yeah.
But I'm concerned. What happened?
Well, what ended up happening? The first one, so Raiders...
They liked Temple of Doom, right?
So that was the thing.
On board with Temple of Doom.
On board. They liked... So Temple of Doom, they were...
Do you think it's just that your kids are super racist?
I mean, wait. Wouldn't that make them...
Temple of Doom is the racist one.
Is the racist one. Well, maybe they are. That's another good reason that they're in the freezer then. Like, honestly, you're just validating me right now. But they liked Kate Capshaw, which was like questionable, but I took it. They also really liked the elephants. They liked the temple there. They liked the Doom. I don't know. They were fine with that one.
So they were on board with the guy's heart getting ripped out and set on fire. Is he screaming in pain?
They're like sickos. Like I'll go into that too a little bit more, but they're like, yeah, that was fine for them. I still have never seen that part. I was like, close your eyes, and they're like, what do you mean? Like, this is not bad at all.
I think we might have literally had that conversation on the air.
Did we? Okay.
Where you refused to watch it and your kids were like, fine.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. Thanks for keeping me honest. Yeah. So then I thought the same with Raiders of the... I'm jumping around a little bit, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, there were multiple points. I still have never seen the... Okay, I take that back.
The face melting?
For the first time ever, I was like, okay, if my kids are going to keep their eyes open, I'm going to watch it too. And then they just sort of were like, wow, that was so lame. That's clearly paint. Like
to the face melting?
To the face melting. And I was like, you guys are clearly warped. Like, your idea of what's scary is clearly warped. And I had like a negative reaction because I was like, how do you not think that's so scary? And they're like, yeah, sure. Real scary, Mom. Real scary. I was like, go to bed. Just go to bed. I don't even want to talk to you guys anymore.
You go to bed without your dinner.
You go, no food for you for a while. Yeah, that's what I said. So that was upsetting.
Sure.
But then again,
it's upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Right now.
In this moment, it's upsetting. But then we got to Last Crusade, and I feel like most of the movie, they just kept turning to me asking questions, which I was trying to remind myself, like, respond kindly, because I just wanted them to shut up. Like, I was just like, watch the movie. Like, don't talk to me. But they were like, oh, I really like that guy's hat. Is that the guy from, like, so they were trying to put it Sean Connery. They're like, that's a sweet bucket hat. I was like, yeah, I've never noticed the bucket hat. Yeah, it is cool. Like, just watch the movie.
Where is there a bucket? Does Sean Connery have a bucket hat?
Yeah, apparently. I never even knew what it was.
I feel like you and I have the correct relationship with this movie, which is to be so taken up by its plot that we are not questioning the sartorial choices.
This is exactly right. They're questioning all the effects. They're questioning his hat. He wears it when they're on the little sidecar.
Oh, sure. Okay, sure.
Yes. Then it got worse because then anybody that was really old in the movie, they just kept asking me over and over if they were still alive. So they're like, oh, that guy, he's pretty old. This is an old movie. Is he alive? And I was like, no, he's not alive. And then I was just like adding to my despair the whole
children
movie.
just dancing on Denholm Elliott's grave as the movie was playing?
Yeah. I was just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, I don't know if they're alive. I hope they're alive. And Rob's like, they're not alive. I was like, just watch the movie. So it just got a little out of control with like the questions. And then they knew it was bothering me. But then I feel like the part that even bothered me a little bit more was that like we pushed towards the end and I was like, it closed, movie was over. I looked to them and it's like, my kids are nice and they know my emotional limits. So I went around the room. I gave them this sort of like, hey, what'd you think? Look. And they all, I had my nephews over too. They all like gave each other these like side eyes, like looked at each other, this like, don't be an asshole, like look, like, okay, don't be. And they were like, oh, 4.8, Mom, loved it, really good. And my nephew's like, 4.2, I mean 4.7.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you know what? Get out of my sight.
I'm like sad right now. I'm hearing this story and it's funny, but it's also like they were being patronizing to you.
It was more
about the movie.
It was more pity. They genuinely did not want to hurt my feelings, but like you clearly didn't get it. And so you already have hurt my feelings and they don't know it. And I decided to take the high road. I was just like, let's just move on. Let's just go. And then I've been in just sort of like low grade depression ever since.
So am I hearing the story correctly? Their favorite is Temple.
Yes.
And they sort of faked liking Last Crusade and they didn't even fake liking Raiders. Is that kind of where it's at?
They were like they just said 4.8 to all of them pretty much. But I did get their rankings and I'm actually curious on yours because here's where my bone to pick comes with you. So I need to be honest. I did see your review on the site. Okay.
We are going to have some dark times ahead. I want to make it clear. I'm with you right now. I feel empathy. I'm feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
You're telling me this story and I hate your kids
yes.
and your nephew.
Yes.
I want them to get crushed by a steamroller
yes.
right now.
And I want to like you. I do really want to like you. And I want you to be on my side. But
what I want to say, Carrie, before we go any further down this hole.
Yes.
This is also one of my favorite series. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite series, but it's way up there. I like the Indiana Jones better than the Star Wars films. Sure. I like them better than the Bond films.
That makes sense.
Series that I treasure.
Yes.
I love these movies deeply.
Do you? Okay. All right.
I love them so much.
I know you do. I thought you did. And so that's why I turned to you in my moment of despair. When I was feeling super down, I can't even tell you the excitement that I felt when I saw that you had posted a review on our site. And so I was super excited, but I decided rather than read, I was just going to like get an immediate.
Oh no.
Yeah. I sought you out.
No. Did you explain to them, Carrie? Did you explain that I'm a professional film critic and I have very strict standards and my 3.5 stars speaks to a deeper amount of enthusiasm and love than their faked 4.8s?
No, because I didn't even share this with them. I was crying under my covers and this is where I sought it out and I didn't even read the review. I'm like, all I want is the dopamine from this 5 stars. So I was like, I'm going to scroll right to the bottom, see the 5 stars. Got there, saw your inaccurate rating, and I immediately closed the browser tab and walked away. I couldn't read it. I was like, no.
I love it so much that I have to be honest. I can't lie to it and tell it that it's a perfect movie because I love it so much.
You can say it's not perfect, which would also be inaccurate. That you
say to your spouse, the person you love the most in the whole world, you're a screeching asshole and I hope you die. But you say that because you love them so much.
No, I don't do that. Rob's breath has been a little bit weird for like the last couple weeks. And I want to say something, but I care about him so much that I do not tell him.
I want you to read my review of Last Crusade. And while you're reading it, say to yourself, the same way that Tim said to Last Crusade, I don't think this scene works. That's how I'm going to tell Rob, brush your goddamn teeth.
think about it, but I don't think I'm there yet. I'll think about it. I'm going to consider it on both ends as well. But my kids did give me their rankings. They were, and this might blow your mind a little bit. They are 2, 5, 3, 1 is their current ranking.
I want your kids to die. I can't even begin.
I haven't also read your Dial of Destiny review, which we'll get into in a little bit, but that is their current order. I would love to know.
So Last Crusade, Dial, Temple, Raiders is your children's order. Both of them have the same order?
Yes, they do. I know. It's that Kate Capshaw. They thought she was funny and quirky in a way that they understood. And you know what? I can't not agree with it. I also give that movie 5 stars, but it's like a 5.3 or it's like a 5C essentially for me as well. So
sure.
I digress. I don't need to. I can feel my eyes getting a little teary, so we won't talk about your review anymore.
That's okay. Do you want
kidding.
to know my ranking?
I do want to know your ranking, though. Yes, I think I know, but I'd love for you to tell me.
So my ranking is just straight up chronological. I think Raiders is the best. I think Dial is the worst, and I think it's a smooth arc through the other 3.
Dial is the worst?
I think Dial is far and away the worst.
Dial is not the worst. Dial is the 4th best of these 4 movies that exist.
I put Crystal Skull. I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's how much of an Indiana Jones fan I am, Carrie. I really fucking like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I only watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull once because it was so upsetting.
I think it's a pretty damn good movie.
You know
that
what?
I really, really like.
I'm going to give it another chance. I think I'll say that. I didn't want to show it to the kids because I was just like, I just can't do this emotionally right now.
As badly as it went, I don't know what you were possibly worried was going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. But I just felt like...
What if your kids liked Crystal Skull better than Last Crusade?
I mean, who will ever know, really, at this point? What's been done is done. But yeah, I question their taste in a lot of things. But this will lead us into an exciting additional conversation because we're going to head into our Worth Mentioning segment. What is our Worth Mentioning segment? It's where... apparently we're going to argue and continue to argue about the movies that we've seen most recently. And now I know I told you before this episode started that I had seen a movie that I would never spoil, but it's just anything's game. Now I'm mad. So everybody dies. No, I am going to bring today Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, so we can chat about that a bit more. And then I also did see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part Uno. So I'll share a couple thoughts on that one as well.
I swear to God, I will shut my laptop down if I hear you starting to say anything that goes wrong. It's the only film of the summer that I'll be seeing with my partner, which means I have to see it on a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
And it goddamned opened on Monday, so that's like as many days as you can possibly have to wait.
I saw it last night. Is that right? 2 nights ago? What is today? I saw it 2 days ago.
Friday.
So I saw it last night.
Today is what day is it? Because we released this podcast in a timeless fashion.
Vacuum. That's right. I would say I think we saw it on Thursday. We saw it on Thursday with my parents. So all that I will tell you just a teeny bit about it, but I'm not even going to go into what it's about very much. What will you be bringing, Tim, today?
I will actually be bringing a Patreon request courtesy of MC, who is an occasional writer for the site. I will be bringing the movie Little Boy to the table, which I didn't even really realize how appropriate it would be in this moment in time. Little Boy is the 2015 film directed by Alejandro Monteverde, who his name hasn't really come back up in the news because people aren't talking about it like it's a film that was directed, but he has directed the film Sound of Freedom, which is in the conversation right now. It's a film that I have basically no interest in seeing, but it's out there. It's in the world. It is causing some level of controversy in the discourse. So wild that I just happened to randomly pick this week to revisit this director's previous film. But also there are resonances, shall we say, between Little Boy and the upcoming film Oppenheimer,
Oh,
So I kind of by chance, I mean, I just picked it because I was like, well, I need to get my Patreon list chipped away. But really just a kind of perfect moment to watch Little Boy, as it turns out. So thank you,
okay.
MC, for putting that in my way.
I am, and Oppenheimer was on your most anticipated list, wasn't it?
It was,
Okay.
yes.
I'm getting more and more excited about that one, by the way. Like the more I see the previews of it, the more I know that it has that guy in it. Um,
It has all of the guys in
you
it.
know the guy, though.
Every single guy
Is
is
his
in
name Seymour, Cecily?
it. Killian Murphy.
Yes. I really like him. So I'm so much
He's
that I
really
know
good.
his name. So I'm excited that he's in there. I've seen a couple previews of it now, and I'm like, I think it's going to be a tough watch, but I think it's going to be really, really good. I'm excited for it.
I'm optimistic. I already have my tickets for that. That is a movie that I'm seeing on Friday the 21st at 2:30 p.m.
Woohoo. All right. Well, I will start it off since I've got two-ish. I'm going to do 1.5, and then you've got yours. So I'll talk a little bit about Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny.
Okay. I thought you were going to start on the other one.
No, I won't
I
hurt
was
you.
already prepared to get on the defensive.
I'm going to see how you react first to this one to decide how harsh I want to be on Mission Impossible. But nevertheless, Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, we did take the kids and my mom to see it. This is an experience where we get to go back and see the legendary hero, Indiana Jones. So this is fifth installment. He goes out and, as the title indicates, there is a dial of destiny that is out there. People are looking for it. Lots of people want it.
I would already like to indicate that I disagree with your plot summary.
Okay.
I think calling that a dial of destiny is begging the question.
What is it? So it's a dial. What's it called? It's like
it's called it's some Greek thing.
It's a Greek name. It's a little dial.
Antikythera.
Okay, I didn't want to pronounce that, but it's this little gold circle that's got maybe a little clock on it. You never really get that close to it to see. It actually looks kind of like a cheap set piece. I was kind of like, could we not have done better with this? But nevertheless, if I look back at the 1, 2, and 3, I probably shouldn't be judging the accuracy of set pieces as well. But he finds himself having to sort of.
The Ark is a phenomenal prop, and I will not hear you say anything.
I'm agreeing with yours. You're never going to 5 stars. You're never going to hear me disagree with you on that. Never. And the faces as they melt did not look like red syrup.
Your kids have poisoned you. Your kids have ruined not just your emotions, but your response to this movie.
I know. Well, I'm going to hold firm on this because, again, I'll get there. Essentially, everybody's after it. It has so much power, of course, as everything does, that Indiana Jones is after to try and protect. And so he's up against an old rival, but then has some old friends that join him along the way to try and get this ancient artifact before it falls into the wrong hands. So this brings back Harrison Ford. This has Phoebe Waller-Bridges, who I was so excited to have in this. It has John Rhys Davies is in it. We see him again. And then it also brings back, this is no spoiler, a little bit of a cameo from Karen Allen, who is Marion from
the
first.
That is 100% a spoiler.
It's in the previews. They show her. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I know. I would never have said it if it wasn't, but it's not enough for me, but I'll get into that a little bit. Here is the thing about my perspective going into this movie. All that I wanted was to leave feeling happy. I had built up this weird anxiety that I was going to start to cry for one of two reasons. Either the characters seemed like old and feeble in any way. I knew that was going to be like tough. Or if they played hardcore on the nostalgia. They, in my opinion, did not do either of those things. Would you agree with that?
I would say they do both of those things, but I certainly think they do more of the first of those things.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I never felt in any way like Harrison Ford or anybody felt old or feeble. Like, he has it going on 100%. He's still zipping around, jumping around. Like, never did I see a limp. Like, I felt more sad watching John Wick for Keanu Reeves than I did Harrison Ford.
I guess he doesn't seem to be enfeebled. Like, it's not like he's puttering around with a walker like Carl and Up. It does. Well, we'll get there. There's so much to dig into. I didn't feel like they played on him being old at all. Like, old, washed up. It was just an older version of Indiana Jones, still smoking, still 100% would leave Rob for him, takes his shirt off, still just, again. You have a remarkably generous assessment of what Harrison Ford looks like with his shirt off. at this moment in time.
I think he was looking good. I still think he has 100% going on.
My cock fell off my body and left the theater in protest at how much I was not into Harrison Ford with his shirt on.
You don't have to be like, oh, we're going to be romantic, but you can acknowledge that you're like, hey, there's still abdominal muscles that are present there that are visible to the eye. It's not like he's like either.
You know what there are not pectoral muscles.
He's like 90. I know he's like really old.
I'm not saying he's not old. I'm saying I don't want to look at him with his shirt off ever again. And if that happens in the Captain America that he's going to be in next year, I will storm out of the theater to join my dick in the lobby.
You know what? I don't care. I was still hot for him. And I don't.
Okay, I'm glad that he got your juices flowing.
He still did. I thought the whole thing was fun. I thought it was high energy. Is it super memorable? No. Will I watch this 1,000 times like the first 3? I won't. But I won't actively avoid it like I did for Crystal Skull. Like for me, this was like, it was fun. I thought Phoebe Waller-Bridges was like super fun in it. Like she always knocks it out of the park in terms of just being like such a good anything that she does. So I loved her in this. I loved seeing John Rhys Davies again coming back. He just like warmed me. I actually messaged him on Instagram afterwards like a weirdo, and he never responded because I wanted to let him know how much I think he's cute. Like a weirdo. He's thinking I slipped into John Rhys Davies' DMs. How weird is that?
I feel like probably a lot of people did, and I don't think you should feel bad.
Okay, good. But he was just sweet as pie, and I left feeling happy and energized. I did not shed a single tear the entire movie I just didn't plan that. It just felt like another action adventure. It wasn't like, hey, this is the end. It didn't feel like the end, I guess, is maybe what the feeling was.
That's fascinating to me.
Tell me your perspective on the other end.
I had such a complete 180-degree response there. So for me, the issues start right at the beginning. I found that opening sequence in 1944 just a drag. I did not.
Is this where he's de-aged?
Yeah.
Okay.
The de-aging I thought looked unattractive. I thought just in general it was dark. I couldn't always see what was going on. But setting that aside, let's just skip right ahead to 1969, not the day of the moon landing, the day of the parade given to the astronauts in New York to celebrate the moon landing. That whole opening act, when it's like we learn that Indiana Jones is getting divorced from Marion. We learn that his son, Shia LaBeouf and Crystal Skull, died.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when exactly we learn how he died. He died by Indiana Jones, and Mutt got into such a big fight that Mutt joined up to fight in Vietnam and died there. And he's somehow gone from his very lovely job at basically Yale, like it's never called that in the movies, but that's basically what it is, to like some city colleges of New York tenure job that looks just sad and shitty. That whole opening half hour, it felt like Indiana Jones's life sucks now.
Yeah.
And he's old and he's lonely. And I didn't want to see any of that. That made me feel very, very sad.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of sad. It's like a plot sad where it's like, yeah, we want to know that his life is meant for adventure. It's not meant for being in like big city New York. It's not meant, he isn't happy in what he's doing. But then that's a build up to
I don't need
to
see that everything about his life has failed to buy into he'd rather be adventuring than working at a college job.
Well, I mean, I do. It worked for me. It worked for me because he quickly, 30 minutes in, like you said, then they quickly pivoted into like, Indy, we need your help. They like ran to him and they're like, we need your help to get this dial back.
And I mean, I don't know. The opening just was such a sour note to me that the movie never recovered from it. But I don't know. The action scenes just felt sort of not great to me. Like, there's so many great action scenes in those movies. There's, like the running from the boulder in Raiders, and there's the trucks in Raiders, and there's the tanks in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything like that.
Do you feel like, I thought about that too. It's definitely not like as like
Like the best this could
yeah.
do was a horse in the New York subway, which is just not the same as the tank scene from Last Crusade.
It's
Sure,
not.
you will agree with me.
It's not. But here's my question on that. And this is, I thought about that a lot too. I wonder if that's why it didn't make me sad, because rather than like put his character into like unrealistic action sequences that nobody at his age could possibly do, I wonder if they sort of like, I don't want to say downgraded because that sounds negative, but like I wonder if they brought it to like action that would be possible for somebody, you know, like rather than being like, oh yeah, we're going to have this 85-year-old man swinging from ropes like across things.
It was
like
never
that would be
possible
weird
for him to do the things that he does.
But it would be more weird if you saw it. Right now, it would be more like, it would make it comical in a way. Like if you saw an 85-year-old.
They are comical. They're funny movies.
But like in a different way. Like it was comical before. Now you're like, it's not even possibly believable. I believed that Indiana Jones could outrun that boulder. I believed that he could swing across those ravines. I thought he could like dangle from his pinky, like before his dad helped him with the cup of Jesus Christ that caught his blood. Like I believed all of that. I'm not going to believe an 85-year-old man is going to like dangle with his pinky. Like I just think, I wonder if they tried to make it a little less like wild to make it more believable that he was actually doing these things.
I guess to me that just kicks the can down to the question of then ought they have made this film in the first place?
I mean, there's still action in there for sure. Like he's still
there's kind of action.
There's some kind of action in there for sure. So, okay, tell me what else.
I will
tell me
say
what else.
To try and heal wounds.
Yes,
because I feel like you have suffered this past fortnight, Carrie. I don't want to contribute to your suffering.
Yes.
So let me meet you with the things that I actually did like.
Okay.
In Dial of Destiny. The scene where they are in the tomb, they're in the cavern system looking for Archimedes' tomb.
Mm-hmm.
Great sequence. Thought it was vintage Indiana Jones, dark spaces, lots of creepy crawly insects, creepy crawly CGI insects. So they weren't quite as good as they are in the original movies, but still pretty good. I like the sets. I like that sort of weird water puzzle thing that I didn't really understand what was going on, but it seemed very
puzzly,
like a prop anyway. And I like props.
Yeah.
So that scene was great. So I thought I have no notes for that scene. I also, and I gather that this is one of the more contentious parts of the movie. Spoiler? Can we spoiler?
No.
Okay.
Do it.
I'm done talking about
it. Do it in code. Do it in code so that I know what you're talking about.
The thing I assumed the movie would consist of, based on the trailer, based on the tagline, I thought it was going to involve the manipulation of time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And there's a point where it does that.
Yes.
Towards the end, and I know you know what I'm talking
about.
I liked that scene mostly. I don't think the execution was quite there. I think it would have been better if the film had been a little bit more willing to let that be silly.
Yeah.
Which it's not silly.
It takes it seriously.
It's a movie that's very concerned about ever being seen silly, which I think is an over response to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. If that final sequence had been silly, it would have easily been my favorite part of the film. But I like the idea of it.
Yeah. I liked it. I like that. It pushed boundaries a little bit. I liked that too. Yeah. It didn't kind of keep it in the box that it always is the same thing, for sure.
And I will also say the last scene was great.
It's so funny. I was going to say I hated the last scene.
The last scene. The very last scene.
Hate is strong. Hate is really strong. It didn't give me what I wanted.
Are you sure we can't spoil?
It's okay. So this is not a spoiler because, like I said, shows up in the preview. So
it's a spoiler to say that she's only in the last scene of the movie.
Oh, sure.
But also this movie is tanking. No one wants to see it. So
okay.
We can give away that the final scene of the movie has Karen Allen appear in it. We don't have to go into the details.
Marion comes back. Here was my complaint about that. All I wanted was Marion to come back. All I wanted was Marion.
So you got it. So why did you hate it?
But it wasn't enough for me. It actually felt like she was just dialing it in. Dialing it in. But like, it felt like, hey, I got paid to come in and do this. Like, they had such a romantic tension, such a tension in the first one of just like, I believed that these two people were destined for each other, that they loved each other. Like, I believed in that so much. And I felt like, I don't know, this one just to me felt like I showed up, I had to be here for half a day, and I was out. I didn't feel the energy that they had in the first one, in this one.
The thing, and I'm going to try to speak in code again.
Okay.
The thing where they redo some of the staging from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
You know what I'm referring to?
Yep.
I thought that was such a sweet moment. I
Yes.
thought that moment completely played for me.
That played, but then I guess part of it was I wanted more.
And that's like half of her screen time.
I know, but she's not there for much. That's the thing. I just wanted more of her. I wanted her to be in it more. So
you thought she was checked out, but also you wanted more of that.
I think maybe I didn't have enough time to warm up to her. Like it was like she was there and gone.
Karen Allen checked out of the character for half the running time. Well, that's just Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Fair.
It sounds like what you wanted was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I did. I don't know what I wanted, but it wasn't enough. It didn't hit for me. I wanted it to just be like, a moment. And to me, it was just kind of like, I don't know. It didn't hit for me as much as I thought it would.
The bit where they restaged that scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark hit for me.
It was sweet. Hard. It was sweet. Although they only did part of that scene. And then I was like, I just want the whole scene. They did like.
Did you want him to smash her in the face? Is that what you wanted?
Maybe. I don't know what I wanted. I want to rewatch it again. This is one that I will rewatch again. And if you guys haven't seen it, we haven't spoiled it. There's a ton more to see in it. Like I do recommend people getting out to see it and just try to enjoy and transcend into it.
Because it's bombing, so it won't be in theaters much
longer. It won't be there much longer. So that has been my journey, my very long and sad journey with Indiana Jones. But
what's your final ranking?
Okay, so my final ranking is 3, 1, 2, 5, 4.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I certainly don't want you to die anywhere near as badly as I want your children to die.
Exactly. I have some sense, but I enjoyed it. I had fun, but I don't think it was like one that's as memorable as the first 3 for sure.
Do you have a star rating ready to go? Are you still
5? Just 5 stars. No.
God damn it, Carrie.
I'm just kidding. I'm still processing that one because I'm like, I want to be honest. I mean, it's not a 5-star movie. But it'll still get up there pretty high for me on the emotional spectrum. Okay. So that said...
That was your number one anticipated of the summer.
I know. It's
you're going to have a pretty high star rating to counterbalance mine.
It's actually...
Is what I'm going to say.
How many did you give it? I didn't look because I was too broken. Two stars. All right. Yes. Well, then 5 it is. And speaking of 5 stars, let's talk a little bit about Little Boy. You said it's from Patreon MC Stefan, and it's about the end of the world-ish. Is that right?
Sort of. So Little Boy is set during World War II in a small town in California where there is a child, a masculine child. He is small. Mm-hmm. So we could call him a little boy. Okay. In fact, everyone does. It's sort of just from like setting up the scenario, it's already kind of weird because it's like he's from a very young age, like below average height. And we see this in a scene where his father's like marking, the way you like stand against a door jam. And like when he's 3, he's not as tall as his brother was at 3. And then we cut to a wide shot and it still looks like he's like 5 feet tall. And it's like, how tall is the 3-year-old supposed to be? Are you upset that the 3-year-old's not like all the way to the top of the door? It's very peculiar. It just really makes no sense. But anyway, so we have this little boy. I think his actual name is, it's some just dreadfully made up name. I'm going to have to look it up. Pepper Flint Busby is his name.
In real life or in the movie?
The actor's name is Jacob Salvati. No, the character name is Pepper Flint Busby. Pepper. Okay. So Pepper is a little boy. And he lives in this town and it's very cute and saccharine and just... I found it very awful how like charming it all is. And then his father has to go to war because it's World War II. His brother's going to go to war, but his brother has flat feet, so his brother's not allowed to enlist. So his father goes to war, and then Pepper decides that he is going to figure out some way to get his father back. And in his very sort of fumbling and incoherent way, he decides that this will involve basically making a bargain with God. So he goes to the local church where he meets the priest, played by Tom Wilkinson. And they sort of work out a plan where Pepper will perform good deeds. And in return for his good deeds, will be able to use the power of prayer basically to work miracles. And it's Pepper's very confused about all this. That's sort of his idea, is like, well, if I check off the boxes that God wants me to check off, I can move mountains with my faith. He has no clue what's going on. And the priest tries to explain to him, well, this isn't actually how it works, but it doesn't really work well because Pepper's just a complete unimaginable idiot. So Pepper like prays really hard, or what he thinks is praying really hard. Meanwhile, he's like checking off this box, which includes, being kind, being friendly. And in particular, the priest orders him to befriend this middle-aged Japanese man, played by Carrie Hiroyuki Tagawa, who's sort of a that guy-ish actor. Basically, if you befriend this Japanese man who is very much on the outsides of town, because all of the people in this town are very anti-Japanese, because again, it's World War II. So if the little boy, if Pepper will befriend the Japanese man, the priest believes that is what it will take to get him in good with God. So that's kind of going on, while meanwhile the little boy is like trying really, really hard to like work miracles. And at one point, he becomes convinced that he has prayed hard enough to cause an earthquake.
Okay.
And that gets us about midway through the film. And now I am going to spoil, because the thing that this movie is like.
What year is this, by the way?
What
year is this movie?
What year was it made? 2015.
Okay, so people, it's okay to spoil it.
I think so.
Okay.
Because it deserves to be spoiled.
I kind of want to see it, though, based on what you've said so far. So I'm a little nervous.
I don't want you to want to see it.
Oh, you don't want me to? Okay, then tell me what happens.
It's a terrible movie.
Oh, okay.
So he wants his dad to come back, right? So and he knows that his father is a POW in Japan. So every day he looks across the Pacific to where Japan is, and he does this like real stupid pose that he does when he's trying to like pray real hard. It's like sort of striking his hand out like he's a superhero or whatever. It's very bizarre. And here's the thing. It's a pun, the name of this movie. If I were to say to you, Carrie, does the phrase little boy have any meaning to you in the specific context of World War II? Would it?
No.
What if I were to pair little boy with fat man?
Little boy, fat man?
Fat man and little boy.
No.
Little boy was the nickname of the bomb we dropped on Hiroshima.
Oh.
So.
Wait, who is Fat Man?
What?
Who is
the
Fat
bomb
Man?
we dropped on Nagasaki?
Oh. Is that common? People know this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. The movie assumes you know it because the movie makes a joke about it.
Ooh.
So Pepper is like reaching his hand across the Pacific and praying real hard. And then we drop the bomb. And then the next day, the newspaper headlines read, "Little boy ends the war." And so all the townsfolk are like, "Hooray, little boy. You prayed so hard that God blew up Hiroshima with a nuclear bomb."
Oh, my.
And the movie treats this as a charming misunderstanding.
Okay. And does the dad make it home?
There's still a ton of movie left at this point, by the way.
Okay, because it feels like it should be over, and we should know if his dad makes it home
I
or
was
not.
under the impression that's how the movie ended. There's 30 more minutes after little boys
bombing
blow up Japan.
Okay.
And it only gets worse from there. But the whole thing, so like, it's a movie that does that.
Yeah.
Like it makes that gesture. But the whole thing is just this incredibly tacky, like, celebration of this child's just profound misunderstanding of like the bargain he's trying to make with God. And what's weird about it to me, this is a movie, it's one of those movies for a faith-based audience.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
That's very much what they're targeting. But at the same time, the movie seems to make such a ceaseless mockery of the idea of religious faith. Because the boy doesn't ever get it. Like, he just has no clue. He's just like, well, as long as I, keep checking off the list that the priest gave me, then God has to do what I want. And if what I want him to do is, blow up Japan, then he will. Which is just a remarkable thing to me to try and sell to an audience that in theory wants inspiring stories of faith. So it's just this really tasteless thing. And it's also just so corny.
Yeah.
And like sweet in a way that I find just really, really
awful,
flat and awful. And like the colors are this like very pastel look the whole time. but this very like digital pastel. So basically I found the whole thing terribly dull when it wasn't being aggressively offensive.
So the big question is, did you give this more or less than 2 stars?
I gave this 1 star, Ms. Jarosinski.
Thank
I'm not
God.
a monster.
Thank God. Quick question on this. So I would assume that if the dad makes it home,
He does.
okay, again, going back to the
Because,
pro
because
prayer.
little boy prays so hard that he causes another soldier to be murdered by the Japanese in his father's place.
Yes,
basically.
yes. Here's a question for you, because I know as a person who's not a huge advocate for God.
This is correct.
This is
Everyone
correct.
who knows me knows this.
Have you ever been so distraught about the lack of power that you have over a situation that you have prayed?
No.
Interesting. Because I'm not a big prayer either. But I will say in moments where I'm like, and this happens maybe not very often, but in moments where I'm just like, I don't have anything else, that's what I do. Like, I'm just like, I don't have any control over the situation, and I want to fix the situation. And for some reason, there's like this like solace in it. Like, and again, I'm not a prayer either, but like I do
a
it.
mild point of conflict between me and my college girlfriend, because I had cancer in 2005, was that she told me she was praying for me and I asked her not to.
Oh.
And she refused not to. The compromise we made was do what you need to do, but don't talk to me about it.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
So that was my relationship to prayer.
I would have. This is why we're still friends. I would have never prayed for you during that time.
Much.
I know.
You would have prayed that he'd have just fucking put me out of my misery. Move that cancer into my brain, right?
I wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have read your Indiana Jones review at that time. So I would have thought good thoughts, though. I don't know. Yeah, I always kind of wonder about that. Sometimes I think there's like power in like the meditative process, if anything else, of just like saying.
Well, I meditate.
Yeah. But I mean, even in that, it's like the like saying through like what you hope for. I think there can be some solace in that. But it doesn't sound like that was what was happening in Little Boy. It sounds like he, in fact, was.
It's more like it's literally, it was like he was. It's like he was trying to play a video game where you need to power up in order to like shoot beams out of your hand or something. And the power up was like perform charitable works.
Got it.
It was remarkably bad.
Well, that does sound bad. So thanks to MC.
You, MC.
Yeah.
I know MC selected this specifically because he finds the film a catastrophe in his own right. So I know this is not me hating on a film someone thought I would love. I'm hating on a film he wanted to hear me hate on. And
excellent.
Hopefully I have lived up to your expectations. I will say the one possible thing, because it is so fixated on like doing good works, maybe it's just like anti-Catholic, but that seems like a stretch to me.
Sure. Well, I am a little bit enticed, but I probably won't watch it if it sounds like it's that bad. But speaking of movies that aren't that bad, I'm going to briefly touch on Mission Impossible. Dead Reckoning.
I'm putting my hand on top of the lid to the laptop, and if I hear you say anything I don't want to hear, I'm shutting it. And remember, I'm the one running the Zoom call.
I can see your tummy now, so I can attest that you are, in fact, doing that. You've got me halfway closed. But we won't go into this, and I imagine on a future episode, you can go into this a bit more, which is why I don't want to go into it too much, because I know there's a lot of people that haven't seen it yet, so I promise not to spoil it. The main thing that I wanted to say about this was, I don't know if this will excite you or scare you, but I will say that this is the first Mission Impossible that I really enjoyed. I really, really liked it.
Have you seen all of the other Mission Impossibles?
I think I've seen at least 4, I would say. And I am just not usually a fan. I just think I get lost in them. I get kind of like, what's happening? What are we doing? Like, they always just seem so like Tom Cruise is trying to show off, like all of that. Like, this one felt like a hybrid of a Mission Impossible movie and Top Gun Maverick.
I was just going to ask you to compare it to Maverick. Thank you.
Yeah, it felt like that to me, where it just felt it felt kind of grounded in a way, if I can say that. Like, there's definitely a lot of like fun to be had. And we took the kids and my parents to it too. Kids were really into it. Like, all of this isn't a spoiler to say, like all of the like
Every time you use the phrase, this isn't a spoiler to say, I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up on it.
I can see it in your face. Like, he's done this in other movies where it's like, oh, that's not really who it is, like that kind of thing. They loved all of that. And then I loved hearing them talk about it afterwards, about like all of the like, ooh, I didn't know that that's really what was happening. Kind of the sleight of hand type of stuff that he does in movies. They really, really liked that.
Okay.
And I think the narrative in this was just sort of easier to follow, which you may not like as much. Like, you may think that this is too watered down, or that maybe
I don't go into any of the Mission Impossibles because I am interested in following or not following the narrative. So I think I'll probably be just like neutral on that.
Neutral. Yeah. And I think the other thing I would say, and I'll be curious, is I don't think that this one felt so over the top on focusing on the stunt work. There's definitely stunts to be had. There's definitely like, Rob was sitting next to me and I kept hearing him talk under his breath, and he was like creepily being like, oh, that's Tom Cruise. Like making these weird, because he loves, he's in your camp on this, like just loves Tom Cruise, like ego and all of that. Like he loves it.
I guess that's got to be my question. What was Rob's response to
He loved it. He really liked it too. He loves all of them. So he liked it. But it did feel like it felt like it spent more time on some of the character development and like kind of the plot more than dangling from things. That's what I wonder. But for me, it made it a little bit more, again, grounded, I guess I'd say. So the last bit I'll say on it, the thing that I think you won't like about it, if I can predict, and we'll regroup on this, was that I think having the part one and like it felt very
about that.
Yes, it felt very part one-y. Like, oh, it ended, and I was like, wait, is this I needed a little bit more. Like it felt a little
Did you see Across the Spider-Verse?
I did.
Does this have more or less resolution than that film?
When you say resolution, are you talking about ending or color?
Ending.
Oh, ending. That's such a good question. Can I say same?
You can, if that's how you feel.
I think I felt very.
I don't like that. That's how you feel.
I know you don't. I know you don't. And now that you said that, that's exactly how I felt. It was that same feeling, like where it's like it's kind of ending, but like, is it? And like, I don't know. It kind of gives you that thing. So that knocked it down a little bit for me, in the same way that I think it did for Spider-Man for you, Into the Spider-Verse, or whatever that one, the recent one was. Across the Spider-Verse. I think it'll feel very similar to you. So I'm excited.
Good to know. I will steel myself up for that, because that will bump me out.
That sounds good. So I think those are the ones that we had to cover, and I've left feeling okay about our conversation today. I'll say that.
I felt like I needed to pull my punches. You've had enough people bagging on Indiana Jones in your presence, and I don't want you to hate me the way you hate your children.
Yes.
And the way that I hate your children.
That's so. To be honest, there's no room in the freezer anymore. So
exactly.
I just don't know what I'd do with
I don't want you to just dump my body out in the front yard for the dogs to eat.
Exactly.
So I'll just leave it where it is.
Just leave it right there. But thank you guys all for joining us today. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to give a special thank you to our Patreons who have joined since our last episode. By joining Patreon, you can get early access and exclusive content. You can make us watch a movie, pick your own episode, topic, and more from our Patreon site, just like Cher Evans, who snagged our Emmy Award, entitling them to reviews, exclusive access to TV reviews, and extra behind the scenes of my kids reacting to The Last Crusade that I plan to share on Patreon. I did get the conversation on video. I haven't been able to replay it to watch it myself. So I'm just going to sort of just hit like post and then never watch it again. So
I get it. No, I mean, it's probably like how I still have the last video I filmed of my cat.
Yes. Oh, that's
like
sad.
You want to have it, but you don't want to ever
watch it ever again. Yes. So you guys can all enjoy that.
And it's not like the video of my cat dying. It was a video like a week before that.
Oh, yeah. I know. I just got a little sad thinking that the kids are alive. They're upstairs. God knows doing what.
Are they alive in your heart?
Alive. No, actually, that's where they're not alive.
They are living, but are they dead to you?
Exactly. So you guys can enjoy that as well. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.